attaching and filling the bag. Now it's time to attach the bag to the bagger. First, use the over-centre levers to lower the tray. Lower the lifting cradle with the winch. Place the box with the bag in it the correct way around next to the cradle. Open the box and unfold the bag. Now it's important to only cut the ties needed to allow the bag to unfold. Do not cut the rest of the ties until the bag is on the tunnel. Adjust the bag position as necessary to place the stretch guide marks in the correct position. They should be about halfway up the side of the tunnel as the bag goes on. Place the top half of the bag onto the cradle. Then you need to winch the cradle to the top of the tunnel. If required, carefully make any further adjustments to the bag position to ensure stretch markers are in the correct position. It's much easier to do this now than when the bag is on the tunnel. Start sliding the bag onto the tunnel, taking care not to unfold the bag at all. Lower and lock the cradle back into its storage position out of the way. It is easiest to start on one side and work your way around, and then back again as you see on your screen. A handy tip is to use your arm as a guide to slide the bag up on, whilst somebody else lifts it by the strings from the other side. This makes it easier to get it on the bottom tray and over the bag tensioning bars. When the bag is securely all the way on the tunnel and in position, then you can cut the remaining strings. Carefully pull enough bag off to allow easy access to it later. Raise the tray using the over-centre levers and adjust the gap between the tunnel and the tray, allowing just enough room for the bag to be pulled off without being too tight. This should be about 10 to 17 millimetres, but that can vary with the type of grain you are bagging. Once set for a grain type, these over-centre levers do not require constant resetting of this adjustment when changing bags. Ensure that the tray is about 25 to 30 centimetres from the ground by adjusting the turnbuckles located on each wheel. Now this can vary on different grains, so keep that in mind. The top of the tunnel must be parallel to the ground or slightly kicked up. This can be done by adjusting the turnbuckle on the drawbar. Place the stretch rope over the bag in front of the folds and hook it onto the lugs on the tray arms and feed it through the slot in the bottom tray. Attach the 6 ropes from the front of the tunnel to the stretch rope over the tunnel. Now these 6 ropes will prevent the stretch rope from moving with the bag, keeping everything firmly in place. Adjust stretch rope tension by wrapping around lugs on tray arms. Pull enough of the bag off to allow the end to be sealed. Seal the end of the bag using your preferred method. Here we are sandwiching the bag between 2 boards and wrapping it around. Tuck the end under as shown, by at least 1 metre. Setting the brake pressure will ensure the machinery runs smoothly and safely, so it's important to do it right. Firstly, slightly open the needle valve to let the oil flow through. Pump the handle just once. You will see the pressure building in the pressure gauge as you pump the handle. Close the needle valve and release the handle. Repeat this until you have the pressure on the gauge you need to start filling the bag. Now this will vary depending on the grain, the ground conditions and the heat of the day. A guide to start with though is around 800 to 1000 psi. If you need to reduce the pressure, slowly unwind the knob on the needle valve to let the required oil flow through until you have the required pressure on the gauge. To avoid the machine moving forward, always hold pressure on the handle when making braking adjustments. For your own safety and the safety of others, when adjusting brake pressure it must be done in small progressions of around 150 to 200 psi. Now comes time to fill the bag. Attach the PTO shaft to the bagger and the tractor. Put the PTO into gear slowly and start filling the bag. Make sure that the hopper is empty when stopping and starting the bagging machine to avoid the possibility of overloading the machine. Ensure that the tractor's gears and brakes remain disengaged. Check that the end of the bag is still tucked under, especially in the middle, and the grain is filling up the bag evenly. Continue to fill the bag until the machine moves forward. Now the bag is going to stretch, so check to make sure the stretching is in accordance to the bag specifications. After all, you don't want to overstretch it. To control the stretch in the bag, increase the pressure on the brakes to increase the stretch on the bag. To decrease the stretch, decrease the pressure on the brakes. When the bag is nearly full, or you have no more grain to bag up, slowly release the brakes. Be careful though that the machine doesn't suddenly move forward, and ensure that the machine operator and any bystanders are in a safe position. Then drive forward about 4 metres. Always leave about 4 metres of the bag to seal off at the end. This will allow easier attachment of the bag for the emptying machine later on. Cut the bag and immediately seal off at the end. Wrap up the excess bag around a length of pipe or timber in a downwards direction and gently tuck underneath the bag. Then weigh this down with sand or soil to hold it in place. This will minimise any flapping of the plastic in the wind. It's always a good idea as well to keep the area fenced off to prevent animals from entering the site. If the land on which the bag is situated is to be poisoned for rodent and fox control, we strongly recommend that you put into practice a farm safety program and put up appropriate signage warning of the danger.